The chapter Strong and Weak Syllables discusses the key differences between strong and weak syllables in English pronunciation. Weak syllables tend to have shorter vowels, lower intensity, and different vowel qualities. The chapter covers related topics such as stress, elision, and intonation, as well as the frequent use of the schwa vowel in weak syllables. It also explains syllabic consonants, which can act as syllables without vowels.
English pronunciation distinguishes between strong and weak syllables, a feature shared by many languages. Strong syllables are longer and louder, often with a coda, while weak syllables are shorter, quieter, and may contain a schwa or be entirely syllabic consonants. Understanding the characteristics and distribution of weak syllables is essential for grasping English stress, elision, and intonation. This chapter explores these weak syllables, their phonetic properties, and their role in English pronunciation, setting the stage for further discussions on prosody.
The concept of strong and weak syllables in English pronunciation is essential for understanding the language's rhythm and clarity. English, like many other languages, features a distinction between strong and weak syllables. This distinction is influenced by factors such as stress, elision, and intonation. Strong syllables are typically longer, louder, and have a higher pitch, while weak syllables are shorter, quieter, and often lower in pitch. Weak syllables often contain the schwa sound, a reduced vowel sound common in unstressed syllables. For example, the second syllable in sofa is a weak syllable with a schwa sound. Certain words in English have both strong and weak forms, primarily determined by their position in a sentence and the speaker's emphasis. Function words typically use their weak forms unless emphasized or placed at the end of a sentence. An example of this is the word can.
I can walk 10 miles a day. Yes, I can. I can walk 10 miles a day. Yes, I can.
In some cases, weak syllables may not contain a vowel at all, consisting entirely of a consonant. This occurs in syllabic consonants, such as the second syllable in bottle, where the L sound functions as the syllable nucleus. Understanding and using weak forms is crucial for natural-sounding speech and comprehension. Native speakers use weak forms extensively, and mastering these can significantly improve listening skills and fluency for learners of English. In characterizing strong and weak syllables, stress is one possible descriptor, but it's not sufficient without a clear definition of stress. A key point is that strong syllables have vowel phonemes or triphthongs at their peak, excluding these vowels.
Strong and weak syllables can be categorized by stress, with strong syllables being stressed and weak syllables unstressed. Here are a few examples that illustrate strong and weak syllables in words, with the stressed strong syllables in bold.
If the vowel is one of these, the strong syllable will also have a coda. Weak syllables, conversely, have limited vowel peaks.
This means that there are specific conditions for a syllable to be considered strong. If the vowel sound in the syllable is one of these listed phonemes, then the syllable must also include a coda, which means it ends with a consonant or consonant cluster after the vowel. For example, bet has one of the listed vowels, and there's a coda, the consonant t, and this makes bet a strong syllable. Cut has one of the listed vowels and ends with the consonant, fulfilling the condition for a strong syllable. The key point is that these vowel sounds cannot occur in isolation without a consonant at the end. They require a consonant coda to form a strong syllable. Without this coda, the syllable wouldn't fit the definition of strong under the given conditions.
Weak syllables can also have a coda with the schwa vowel, as in the words open, sharpen. Within words, weak syllables can feature the aforementioned vowels as peaks without codas, such as second syllable in photograph, second syllable in radio, second syllable in influence. Additionally, the vowel I can be a peak without a coda if followed by a consonant. For example, the second syllable in architect The schwa is the most frequently occurring vowel in English and is always found in weak syllables. It is mid-central in quality and generally lax, meaning it is not articulated with much energy. While its exact quality can vary, this variation is typically insignificant. Not all weak syllables contain a schwa, though many do. Learners need to understand when to use the schwa and when not to, often relying on spelling cues. By considering the spelling and imagining the syllable pronounced strongly, learners can infer the correct weak pronunciation.
Here is a guide to understanding how weak syllables in English can be pronounced as strong syllables based on their spelling. The basic idea is to predict what vowel a weak syllable might have if it were spoken more forcefully or with emphasis, following typical English spelling rules.
Spelt with A. Strong pronunciation would have a longer vowel, as in the words attend, character, barracks. Spelt with R, strong pronunciation would have A, as in the words particular, molar, monarchy.
Adjectival endings spelt 8. Strong pronunciation would have the diphthong, as in play, as in the words intimate, accurate, desolate.
Spelt with O, strong pronunciation would have the sounds or O, tomorrow, potato, carrot. Spelt with OR, strong pronunciation would have the sound O, as in the words forget, ambassador, and opportunity. Spelt with E, strong pronunciation would have settlement, violet, postman.
Spelt with strong pronunciation would have a longer vowel, as in the words perhaps, stronger, and Superman. Spelt with U, strong pronunciation would have a longer vowel, as in the words autumn, support, and halibut.
Spelt with O, U, G, and H. There are many pronunciations for this letter sequence. Thorough, borrow.
Spelt with OU, strong pronunciation might have a longer vowel, gracious and callous.
Two types of vowels commonly appear in weak syllables. Close front vowel. This sound occurs in the general region of E, as in bit. Close back rounded vowel. This sound occurs in the general region of U, as in book. In strong syllables, it's easy to distinguish between E, as in bit, and it, as in beat. But in weak syllables, it's much harder to tell the difference between these vowels. Different English accents affect how these vowels are pronounced. In accents like Welsh, the second syllable of words such as easy may sound like I in the first syllable. In accents like Yorkshire, the second syllable of busy might sound like it in the first syllable. Present-day BBC pronunciation tends to neutralize the difference between these vowels in weak syllables. Close front vowels. These vowels occur in positions like final position in words ending in the letter Y or EY after a consonant, such as happy or valley. In prefixes like RE, pre, before an unstressed vowel, such as react or create. Suffixes like IATE or AU, such as appreciate or hilarious.
Here are some other positions for unstressed vowels found in the following types of words: he, she, me, be, and the word the when it precedes a vowel. This means that when these words appear without stress, particularly when the comes before a word beginning with a vowel, example, the apple, they are pronounced with a weak vowel, typically a schwa sound, eh. For example, he in unstressed speech may sound more like he or depending on the accent. The apple is pronounced as the apple, where the is reduced in its unstressed form before a vowel. This rule helps clarify how these common words behave in normal speech when they do not carry emphasis.
Syllabic L is a type of consonant that serves as the nucleus of a syllable. Normally, vowels serve as syllable nuclei, but in the case of a syllabic L, it takes on this role in the absence of a vowel. How syllabic L works. A syllabic L is the sound L that functions as the vowel in a syllable, meaning it takes the place of a vowel and forms its own syllable. In phonetic transcription, a small vertical line under the L marks it as syllabic. For example, bottle. When does syllabic L occur? It often appears in unstressed syllables after consonants like D or N. Examples, bottle, The second syllable is just L without a vowel. Middle. Middle. How to pronounce it? Instead of pronouncing a vowel before the L, you go straight from the consonant to the L. To make the syllabic L, position the tongue as you would for the regular L sound, with the tip of the tongue touching the ridge behind the upper front teeth, but don't pronounce a preceding vowel. The L sound holds the syllable on its own. Syllabic L makes speech more efficient by reducing the need for a vowel in certain unstressed syllables. It is common in many varieties of English, particularly in unstressed final syllables.
This image shows a phonological tree diagram, which represents the internal structure of a syllable. The syllable is divided into two main parts, the onset and the rhyme. Let me break it down for you. The symbol at the top indicates the second syllable in the word bottle. In this diagram, the onset is represented by T, which is a consonant sound. The rhyme is further divided into nucleus, the core of the syllable, which typically contains a vowel. Here, it is represented by the syllabic L. In this diagram, the coda is 0, which may indicate an empty or null coda, i.e., the syllable ends with the vowel sound, and no consonants follow. Each arrow points to the specific parts of the syllable structure, emphasizing the segmentation into onset, nucleus, and coda. This diagram is typical in linguistic phonology, especially for illustrating syllable structure and how sounds within a syllable are organized.
The syllabic N is a specific pronunciation feature in English phonology. Here's an explanation of the key points about syllabic N. A syllabic N is a consonant that forms the nucleus of a syllable, typically occurring at the end of words. Common after consonants, especially in word final syllables, can occur after velar consonants, like in thicken, waken. More common after FV, example, seven, heaven, often. Pronunciation variations, words like happen, happening, ribbon, can be pronounced with either syllabic N or with schwa, happen, happen, ribbon. Both pronunciations are considered equally acceptable. Consonant clusters. Sometimes another consonant can precede the consonant before the syllabic N. In such cases, a syllabic consonant is less likely to occur. Special cases, when N is preceded by L and a plosive, example Wilton, both pronunciations, Wilton or Wilton are possible. After S, example, Boston, a final syllabic nasal is less frequent. Clusters of nasal plosive syllabic nasal are very unusual. Examples of words typically using syllabic N in the final syllable, Minton, lantern, London, abandon. Other nasals, like M, also discourage a following plosive plus syllabic nasal. Example, Camden is normally pronounced Kemden. To practice using syllabic N, try pronouncing words like button, kitten, or cotton without inserting a schwa sound before the final N. The N itself should form the nucleus of the last syllable.
Now we're going to discuss the syllabic pronunciation of the consonants M and N in English phonology, focusing on how they can become syllabic under specific conditions. Syllabic M and N. These consonants can be syllabic, meaning they can serve as the nucleus of a syllable, but this typically happens due to processes like assimilation and elision, which are when sounds influence each other or are omitted in speech. Examples in words. The word happen can have multiple pronunciations. Happing, syllabic N. Happen, schwa before N, another syllabic version. All are acceptable variations. The word uppermost could be pronounced upmost, upmost, with a schwa before M. Both pronunciations are fine, though the latter with a schwa is more common. Velar nasals, the sound made by N, can also be syllabic as in thicken. Variants like thicken and thicken are also possible. In the phrase broken key, the nasal consonant then occurs between two velar consonants. In certain cases, n, how, or n can be substituted for the syllabic This flexibility is part of natural phonological variation in speech. Here is the discussion of the syllabic R. Syllabic R in rhotic accents. In rhotic accents, where the R sound is pronounced strongly, syllabic R is common. For example, the word particular would be pronounced with a syllabic R in careful American speech. In contrast, BBC English, a non-rhotic accent, would pronounce it as particular, where the R sound is dropped and a schwa replaces it. In BBC pronunciation, syllabic R is less common and typically appears in weak syllables, like the second syllable of preference, pronounced preference or preference. Alternative pronunciations. In most cases where syllabic R occurs, there are alternative pronunciations where the R does not become syllabic, such as adding a schwa or omitting the R entirely. Minimal pairs. There are a few minimal pairs, words that only differ by one sound, where the presence or absence of a syllabic R affects meaning. One example is hungry, pronounced Hungary, pronounced Hungary. In these cases, the presence or absence of the syllabic R can distinguish between the two words. Substitution of syllabic and non-syllabic R. In cases where syllabic R appears, it is possible to substitute it with a non-syllabic R or R, a schwa followed by R. For example, the word Hungary can be pronounced either as hungry or Hungary. Key takeaway. Syllabic R occurs mainly in weak syllables and is common in rhotic accents like American English. However, in non-rhotic accents, like BBC English, the R is often dropped or replaced with a schwa. Syllabic R can usually be substituted with non-syllabic versions without significantly changing the meaning, although there are cases, like hungry versus Hungary, where the presence or absence of the syllabic R distinguishes words. Next, our discussion includes the occurrence of syllabic consonants, where consonants can function as syllables in certain words. Syllabic consonants can occur in English words, meaning that a consonant, such as L or N, takes the place of a vowel in forming a syllable. Examples: words like national, literal, visionary, and veteran demonstrate this. In these cases, consonants like L and N act as syllables. Key points. It is sometimes difficult to distinguish if a consonant is syllabic or if it is a consonant plus a vowel, non-syllabic consonant plus schwa, a. Pronunciations can vary. For instance, veteran could be pronounced as veteran or veteran, depending on the speaker. Transcription can make these distinctions appear more clear-cut than they are in actual speech, as pronunciation can vary in casual, colloquial English.
The following sentences have been partially transcribed, but the vowels have been left blank. Fill in the vowels, taking care to identify which vowels are weak. Put no vowel at all if you think a syllabic consonant is appropriate, but put a syllabic mark beneath the syllabic consonant.
Which of the following is typically characteristic of a weak syllable? A, stressed with a clear vowel sound, B, unstressed with a reduced vowel sound, C, longer in duration, D, higher in pitch. The correct choice is unstressed with a reduced vowel sound. What is a strong syllable? A syllable that is stressed and often contains a long vowel or diphthong. B, a syllable that contains a schwa. C, a syllable that is always at the end of a word. D, a syllable that is unstressed and always short. The correct is a syllable that is stressed and often contains a long vowel or diphthong. Which of the following syllables is typically considered weak? A, syllables containing long vowels. B, syllables with diphthongs. C, syllables with a schwa sound. D, syllables with high-pitched intonation. The correct answer is syllables with a schwa sound.
End of Chapter 9. We will be discussing stress in simple words in Chapter 10.